All right, my friends, Alonso here. Great to be back with you. And today it's going to be all about the DX7 envelopes. The DX7 envelopes are special because only the Yamaha DX7 uses them, and some other software such as Dexed, which is a clone of the Yamaha DX7 for FM synthesis. And these kinds of envelopes, they've been the mystery for most producers for over 40 years now. So my intention today is to demystify them and actually show you how to use them. So we're going to get really in depth into how they work. All right. So let's get started, my friends. The first thing we'll do is just do a very quick recap on ADSR envelopes, which are what we find on every subtractive synthesizer there is. So an ADSR envelope includes an attack, decay, sustain, and a release stage. Okay, that's where the letters ADSR come from. The attack stage is the time it takes for the signal, for the level or amplitude, however you want to call it, to go from 0 to max when we put our finger on the key on our keyboard. Okay, so it's time, and typically measured in milliseconds. Then the decay is how long or how much time it takes for the signal, it's called the amplitude, to go down from the attack into the sustain stage. Then this is measured in time. Sustain, it is a level, it is not time. So it is the level at which our sound will play, so long as we're pressing on our key. Okay, and finally, when we let go of the key, the time it takes to go from the sustain down to 0, that's the release. And the release is measured in time. Okay, so out of the 4 parameters, 1 is a level and the other 3 are time. Now, I want you to look at this. Well, first of all, thank you very much for Production Music Live, because I took this chart from their website. Notice this. We see here 4 segments, right? The red, blue, yellow, and orange. Okay, we'll come back to that in a second. Then, between each segment, we have a junction. Okay, so between the red and the blue segments, we have a junction here. Between the blue and the yellow, we have the junction right here. Between the yellow and an orange and the orange, we have a junction right here. And imagine here at the end of this orange line connects with this red line. Okay, and we have another junction. Great. Now let me show you the DX7 style envelopes. The DX7 style envelope consists of 4 rates and 4 levels, and they are labeled as rate 1, level 1, rate 2, level 2, rate 3, level 3, and rate 4, level 4. Now, going back to our ADSR envelopes, this attack in DX7 speak, this is rate 1. Okay, let me make this like so it's easier to see. Okay, this attack time is this rate. The attack level on a subtractive synthesizer typically goes all the way to the max, and you don't have a control for it. But here we do have a control. It's called level 1. Then the decay time, or this segment here, is rate 2. Now this junction right here, this would be level 2, but we don't have a control for it in a typical ADSR envelope. So the sustain level is level 3. This segment right here, release time, is the same as rate 4. And finally, like I said, once the level goes down to 0, okay, the junction between the orange and the red line would be this level 4. Okay, so after all, the DX7 envelope is not too different from an ADSR. You can think of it as an ADSR on steroids. It has a few more controls, so it has more flexibility. And by the way, before I forget, this interactive chart or diagram that I'm using today, if you check the description of this video, you'll find a link so you can download it, then a link to another website where you can open this and play with it yourself, because I think it's a great tool for learning how the DX7 envelopes work. All right, so once we've established this, okay, the DX7 envelope is not too different from an ADSR. It's just a kind of advanced ADSR envelope with a few quirks that we'll look into. All right. I see there Panos, Robert, and David. Oh, hey guys. One thing about the DX7 style envelopes is that these rates, remember that the rates measure time, they don't have values in milliseconds, okay? The values for the rates are 0 to 99. 0 is the slowest and 99 is the fastest, okay? So you can't really know how many milliseconds, let's say a rate of 80 is. You have to tweak that by ear. Then the levels, they're also it's a value between 0 to 99. 0 being the minimum value, and 99 being the max value. Okay, so we need to wrap our heads around that. Whenever we're adjusting our DX7 style envelopes, we'll always be talking about values between 0 and 99. Okay, and remember once more, the rates 0 is as slow as it gets, 99 is immediate or super fast, level 0 is no sound, and 99 is the max that the synthesizer can put out. Excellent. There are a couple of quirks with the DX7 style envelopes. The first one is that when we're traveling from a lower level to a higher level, so for example here from 0 to this level 1, and if we have a rate, and let's just say that the rate is it has a value of 80, okay, so going from 0 to level 1 with a rate of 80 feels faster than when you're going from a higher level to a lower level. So for example, let's say these two rates are the same. This first section will feel faster than this second one, and that is by design. Now, you don't need to concern yourself too much with this, because at the end of the day, my recommendation is you're going to be tweaking the rates and your levels based on what you hear, right? Or based on how they feel under your fingers. So don't pay too much attention to the values themselves. Another quirk is that when you have a rate that is traveling from an inaudible level of, let's say, 20 to another inaudible level of 20, for example, when we have level 1, let's set it down here to 20. The quirk is that now this rate works as a kind of delay line before this attack starts. And I'm going to show all this to you, but I just want to call it out there to know that there's some things that you can do with a DX7 style envelope that you can't on an ordinary ADSR style envelope. All right. There's some other stuff here that I'll cover later. Like I said, the rate 1 is akin to the attack time. So this rate right here is like attack time. Rate 4 is the release time. This one right here. So here we would have an immediate release, and here would be like a super long release. And level 3 is the same as our sustain level, this one, on a typical ADSR envelope. All right, let's start playing with this thing. And these demos, I'm gonna be showing them on Dexed, which is pretty much a clone of the DX7, and its envelopes work just like the DX7 style envelopes. Okay, this is the shape of the default envelopes on Dexed and on the DX7, which are the first 3 levels at their maximum level, while the last level is at 0, and all of the rates are at their maximum value. Okay, so in essence, this is what it looks like so, like a table, and you see it right here. So it goes immediately from minimum to maximum. It sustains forever, and when we let go, it immediately goes down to 0, and it sounds like this. Give me a second. Okay, right there. Cool. Now, if we wanted to make a pad kind of sound, we would need to slow down the attack rate, or rate of the attack, or the attack time. In this envelope, then what we need to do is lower the value of rate 1. Remember that a lower value, or low value of 0 is super slow, and a value of 99 is super fast. Okay, so we've got to change this rate into a slower value. Here, this is where we have the rates. This is rate 1, this is level 1, okay? Check here this tiny window. It has the value when I hover over with my mouse. So as you see here, it says that the operator 1, rate 1 is 99. And here it says that the operator 1, level 1 is 99. Okay, so as I said, I need to slow this down until it feels like a pad to me. Here it is still too fast. So like from 99 to around 60 to me is too fast for a pad attack. So right around 40 or lower, it feels more like a pad, maybe like 45. And like I said, don't look at the values per se, but always tweak and adjust them based on how the sound feels under your fingers. Okay, cool. Now we have a pad kind of attack. One recommendation is to slow down the rate of rate number 4, so we don't get a pop when we let go of the key. For example, like this. A great recommendation is to always slow down rate 4 to around 80. Okay, so it's fast, but you don't get that pop. Cool. And what if we wanted to have a long release on the sound? What we would need to do is then slow down rate 4. Like so. Rate 4. Here you are. I'm just going to slow it down until I get the release that I want. I'm not looking at the values. Like that's too long. Right there is fine. Simple, right? Let's look at another example. Say we wanted to make a pluck. How do we do that on the DX7 style envelope? Well, first of all, for a pluck sound, the sustain has to be at 0, okay? In our case, sustain is controlled by level 3. So let's say that we need to bring level 3 all the way down. Okay, and let's do that here. Let me initialize the patch. I'm only gonna use operator 1 for now, so just focus on this section right here. I'm gonna bring level 3 all the way down, and when I play, I get a pop. Okay, why is that? The reason is sound is going immediately from no sound to maximum value. Immediately, it's going to level 2 because they're sharing the same value or the same maximum value. And immediately, the sound is going down to 0. So this happens so quickly that all I get is a pop. Okay, then conceptually, what do we need so we don't get that super quick pop? The pop is caused by going from a maximum value to a low value, or to the minimum value immediately. Okay, so we need to slow down R3 or rate number 3 so we don't get that nasty pop. Cool. So the rate could be, for example, as fast as it is right now, level value of 63, kind of like a wood block, very short and plucky, or I could give it a little bit more body. And again, once we, just so we don't get the pop at the end, let me slow down rate number 4. Cool. Nice. That's that. And what if we wanted to have a, let's call it a piano style of envelope, where we have a sharp attack, the sustain doesn't last forever, typically on a piano, depending on whether you're playing the high notes or the low notes. Let's say that when you keep pressing a note, it rings out for around, let's just say 5 seconds or so. Okay, so conceptually, what we should do is set up something just like this pluck, but we need to make this rate slower than we had it, right? Just so it lasts for around 4 or 5 seconds, give or take. So let's do that. I need to slow down rate 3. I'm going to keep pressing with my finger. There, it is dying out too quickly. I'm going to slow it down even more. That's better. And again, I'm not paying attention at the values. I'm just listening to how it feels under my fingers. So in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's a cool piano type envelope. It dies out and I'm still holding down my keys. Nice. And what if I wanted a kind of a, what I call a release keys type of patch, which is just this that we have right here, but give it a little bit more of release. For example, maybe there. There, actually. Here I'm pressing the keys and releasing quickly. Nice. Let me initialize this thing. All right, so hopefully, guys, you're getting the hang of how to use these envelopes. Now, let me show you a few of the quirks. Remember when we said that for a pluck, we could bring level 3 down to 0 and play with rate 3 to get the body of our pluck as fast or as slow as we wanted. Okay, but think of this as well. What happens if I also bring level 2 down to 0? Now, this also still looks like a pluck, and then most likely I would have to play with R2, or rate number 2. Let's give it a listen. So I'm gonna bring level 3 down to 0. Rate 3 is gonna be a moot point, because level 2 is also gonna be 0. And we will hear only a pop. There we go. Because we need to slow down rate 2 to give our pluck body. Okay, and it sounds exactly like the other pluck that I showed you. So which one should you use? So this is the kind of thing that these envelopes afford us. Sometimes various ways of accomplishing the same thing. So this kind of pluck sounds exactly the same as the one that I showed you. The only difference is that I had to make a few more moves to get it to where I want it, right? So just in the name of efficiency, the best thing then is when you're looking for a pluck, just bring level 3 all the way down to 0 and tweak this tweak rate 3 and call it a day. All right. Let me show you the quirks of the delayed attack, the double attack, and the infinite hold. All right, the delayed attack. For a delayed attack, we're gonna bring level 1 all the way down to 0, level 2 all the way down to 0, and then we will use rate 2 for the length of our delay. Now let's try that out. Okay, level 1 all the way down to 0, level 2 all the way down to 0. Don't remember if it was 0 or just a very low value and if it made a difference. I have it right here. Let's just say, yeah, I'm gonna bring it down to 0. Okay, so level 1, 0, level 2, 0. And we're gonna bring rate 2 all the way down to 0. Okay, I was testing something out here. Let me set it to 20. Okay, let me set it to 25 just to show you something. Okay, check here. When I press the key, it'll turn to number 1, meaning it is in the first stage of the envelope. I'm gonna count the seconds between the time when I play or hold down the note and we hear the attack. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, we have a 3-second delay now for our attack. If I make this slower, let's set it at 20. Let's count it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we went from a 3-second delay to a 6-second delay. If I were to lower this even more, I think we can get up to like a minute or so, or it's crazy, right? So, and again, you can't do this on a normal ADSR envelope. And the question would be then, why would I want to introduce a delay into my envelope? There's various reasons for that. If you make ambient music like Brian Eno did back in the 80s, and by the way, Brian Eno, he's the genius of using the DX7, learning how to use all the quirks and making the most out of it. If your jam is ambient music with the DX7 or with Dexed, you can create super complex patches that have sounds coming in and out at different times. For example, let me speed this up just a little bit. Okay. Okay, let me turn that off for a second. Let me turn on this other operator and just do something very simple. Okay, I'm gonna turn the delayed one on. Pay attention to this. Cool. So we have like 2 sounds in one. It's like having 2 synths play at the same time. And now, of course, this delayed operator, it doesn't have to come in quickly, like with so much attack. We could slow it down like so, and have it ramp in, or even slower. Let's give it release. So now you have two sounds in one. A plucky sound, this one, which I play quickly. That's the only thing that I get. But if I keep holding down the keys, I get a pad sound coming behind it. Very cool, right? And this kind of thing with delay and chorus, it tends to sound really, really good. Okay, here we have a chorus. Okay, let me turn this down a little bit. Pretty cool stuff, right? All right, so that's the double, well, actually the delay trick. Let's take a look at another quirk. The double attack. This one is super cool. Okay, let's bring all of these levels to their max value. So conceptually, what would happen? We already covered if I lower this level, right, down to 0 or somewhere in between, we tend to get some kind of a plucked sound. And the same thing with this one, right? But if I keep levels 1 and 3, let's say high, and what happens if I bring level 2 down? This immediately should look to you like 2 attacks. Cool, right? And you can't do that on an ADSR envelope, but you can do it here. Now the trick is, of course, that level 2 has to be lower than these other 2 levels, and we have to slow down rates 2 and 3 to make this happen. Let's get to work. All right. Let's bring level 2 down to around the halfway point. And I love this diagram and how interactive it is to work out conceptual experiments like this, because I find sometimes that this visual representation in Dexed doesn't tell me what's going on, right? For example, here I lowered level 2, and there's a reason why we didn't see any change. But in any case, the other thing that we need to do now is slow down rates 2 and 3. So let me do that like so. Cool, and now we see the double attack appearing. Let's give it a listen. Okay, and with rate number 1, I can control how immediate or slow the first attack is, and with rate 2, actually with rate 3, I can control how sharp or slow the second attack is. Okay, so let's make it super sharp. Okay, and or it could be soft like so if I wanted. Very cool. Again, it's like if you listen to that very simple thing that I was doing, it's like, how do you program something like that? What kind of synth are you using? That's why Ryan Eno's music blows me away so much. You hear all this stuff that you can't do on a subtractive synthesizer, and it makes the music sound so different because of all the layers and all the things that are coming in and out, right? That you can't program that on a normal synthesizer. And similar to what I mentioned about the delayed attack trick, why would you use this? It depends. In a, let's say, a middle of the road or in a standard track, you might not have a use for this, but if you make more ambient and soundtrack kind of thing, where it's more ethereal, more floaty, definitely this adds a lot of texture. Pretty cool. And of course, the level of the sustain doesn't have to be at maximum. So that second attack could be subtle or gentle, just like a ramp at the after the first attack. Cool, it's up to you. And while we're at it, another of the quirks of the DX7 style envelopes is that on an ADSR, you typically can't control the level of the attack. It's set to max right out of the gate. You can't change it. But on a DX7 and on Dexed, the attack doesn't have to be set to its maximum level. So you can have a first attack that is kind of soft, and then you ramp up to a louder attack. Like so. Let's say, let's bring this back up to max. Okay, now the first portion of the attack, or the first attack, is a very soft pluck. Cool. The sky's the limit, my friends. Alright, let me check if there are any questions here. Let's see. The PX7, says Matthew. Not sure if this works on the PX7. Not all... I don't remember if the PX7 is a modern style FM synth, but I think the Quirk, Poly 6, Native Instruments, FM8, and some of the other modern FM synths, I think they don't include these kinds of envelopes. I know that the Arturia DX7V does, as well as normal style envelopes, right? So this may not be applicable to all FM synths out there. This is why I specifically mentioned it as Yamaha DX7 and Dexed. All right, let's see. Pano says, so the envelopes are somewhat similar to some Quirk synths, like the M1. I'm not too familiar with that one, so you'd have to figure it out for yourself. So the DX7 envelopes are 4-point envelopes with 8 controls, 4 levels and 4 rates. That's the signature, that's the definition. All right. Moving on, I showed you the delayed attack, the double attack. Let me show you the infinite hold. On an ADSR envelope, the release always goes down to 0. You can't control this. But on a DX7, this level right here, level 4, you can control it, and you could give it any value that you want. And why would you want that? And what happens when you do that? Well, conceptually, if we look at this, it means that when I press the key, sound will go through level 1, level 2, and will stay at level 3. And when I release the key, it will go down to level 4 based on the time given by rate 4. Okay, so it will stay at this level forever. So it's kind of like having an infinite hold. You know, some subtractive synthesizers have a hold button. You play a couple of keys, then you activate the hold button, and it rings out forever. This is kind of the same thing, right? So let's try that out. Let me initialize. I'm gonna set level 4 to around there. I pluck the key, and it keeps on ringing forever. Cool. Maybe not too practical and relevant for everyday music, but again, for experimental and more ambient stuff, this is very cool. Now, the only caveat is that once you've made this happen, you can't stop it, right? There's no stop button or no panic button on the DX7 or Dexed. So the only thing to make this go away and shut up is to bring the level down to 0, and it's still going on. Yeah, because I have to recycle the voices, so I'm gonna play a bunch of notes. I think it's like 16 notes that I have to play in a row, or however many there were still in the buffer. Now I was able to turn that off. So use this with caution in a live setting. That's how you would have to turn it off. In your DAW, I'm not sure how you would do that. Maybe you would automate this level right here. But in any case, the DX7 and Dexed allow you to do that, which is fun and quirky at the same time. Great. Now let me walk you through a couple of recipes now with a little bit more detail of how you would use these envelopes in everyday music. Okay, PX7 is Reason's DX7. If it's a DX7 emulation or clone, then most likely it has these 4-point style envelopes. All right, so going back to our recipes, the pad. For a pad, we're going to set rate 1 between 40 and 60, tweak it to taste. Okay, let's set it at 40. And we want a long-ish release. I'm going to set it to 45, but again, tweak it to wherever it feels good to you. Okay, and I'm not going to go too deep into how to make this sound great. I'll be making some sound design videos in the next couple of weeks. But for now, let me just add a little bit of chorus. And already, it sounds great to me. You know what? Screw it. Because we're here and we have time, let me just program a very simple patch. Let's do a sawtooth wave kind of patch. So we're going to use algorithm 2, and operator 2 is going to modulate operator 1. And I'm going to go very quickly. I'm not going to get into the details because I'll explain this on the sound design videos. I'm just going to get through a couple things quickly here. So I'm going to set the feedback all the way up just so operator 2 feeds back into itself. Then I'm going to increase the level of operator 2. Otherwise, we don't get any true FM. Okay, there we go. Not too much. Otherwise, we get this horrible digital distortion. We don't want that. So around here. Sounds good. Okay, and finally, what we want is to set the envelope to be very similar on Dexed. I want to copy the operator values, right click, paste envelope values. However, I'm going to make the release just a little bit slower and the attack just a little bit slower. Maybe slower attack. So operator 2 right now is acting as the filter, okay? And the level of the operator is what gives me either the warmth or the harshness. So for example, if I give it too much level, it's harsh, and if I use a low level, like there maybe, just a little bit more. Now it's warm, and with a little bit of chorus, nice. Very cool, right? Now I'm gonna blow your mind, guys. We have this pad-like sound, but let's use operator 3 as a pluck. So we have two sounds in one. So operator 3, remember the recipe, or let's check it out again. The pluck would be level 3 to 0, level 3. And R3, or rate 3 between 40 and 70. So let's do 50. And give it a level. Okay, let me lower the pad a little bit, just so we can hear the pluck. Cool, we have the pluck, and if I hold down the notes, the pad plays underneath. Very cool. Let's give the pluck a little bit more body. Awesome. Let's take a look at a piano. I think we've already done that, but in any case, piano style envelope would be level 3 0 and R3 to a value of 35. So level 3 0, R3 35. And remember, the logic is to give our pluck or to give that sustain the decay stage a little bit more time. And again, with delay, sounds way better. With chorus, rather. Okay, that's the piano style envelope. Now, a brass kind of envelope, let me initialize. A brass has a fast attack, but not immediate, and it's not soft or slow as a pad, somewhere in between. So just setting your rate 1 to a value between 50 and 60 will get you there. So let me set it to, let's say 60. So right there, it sounds good to me. It feels good under my fingers. Kind of like a whistle. Nice. And just for fun, let's okay, let me set this to algorithm 2. Let's use a little bit of feedback. So we're going to use operator 2 to make this sound more like a brass. Let me copy the envelope. Or before I do that, let me slow down rate 4. Okay, now I'm going to copy, paste envelope, and let me make R1 just a little slower, the same as R4. Of course, you can play with this. Cool. And with some chorus. Very nice. Let's see what else we got. So that was the brass. Let's take a look at the delayed attack. We've already done that, but let's just follow the recipe here. So it's level 1, 0, level 2, 0, and R2, 20. Level 2, 0, R2, 20. And it gives us the delayed attack. Now it is too slow. Let me bump this up to 30. Cool. Nice. And finally, the double attack. Let's initialize. It's level 2 at 50. and R2 and R3 with values of 50 and 65. So level 2, 50, R2, 50, R3, 65, or thereabouts. Cool, let's do this. Okay, let's add a little bit of chorus. Let's give it a little bit of release, tweaking R4. So it's kind of like having a one repeat delay, depending on how you set it. Let's just make the second attack slower. So it's more like a ramp up. Bring the sustain down a little bit. Very cool, right? Let's see what else we got. So these are the recipes. Definitely try them out on your own. Now, what we've mostly done here today was just programming very simple patches just to show you the envelopes. So we were mostly using just one operator, which is super boring. The magic and true FM is when you use two operators, at least a simple stack like that, and you have an operator modulating another operator. Otherwise, you're just doing synthesis with sine waves, right? And we're going to cover all of that in subsequent videos. Like I said, some specific sound design videos, but I just wanted to show you guys how these envelopes work. Otherwise, none of that is going to make sense. So here are your recipes. Try them out on your own. Let me see if there's anything else that I want to show before maybe we can do a couple more sounds. You can read this in your own time, and remember that you can download this interactive diagram from follow the description of this video. Has instructions to download and upload it to this website, whatever. Feel free to use it. Well, let me show you a couple cool things. Just so we have a little bit of time. Let me fire up this delay. In my opinion, just raw FM synthesis tends to sound plasticky, like artificial, but FM sounds, at least for me, come alive when we use delay and reverb, chorus, and that kind of thing. That's where you take a sound that sounds, yeah, cool to great. Okay, for now, let me deactivate this. And let's make a kind of a plucky keys patch for this. Let me initialize this thing. And we're going to use algorithm 2 because I want to use feedback. Okay, so I'm going to tweak level 2. Think of this operator controlling the modulator, modulating the carrier. Think of it as the filter. So if I increase the level, it's like we're opening the filter. Okay, so right there, the chorus will help me take away a little bit of the harshness. So maybe I'll set it there. Okay, let's turn this into kind of a plucky release keys kind of patch. So let me slow down this operator. Release. Let's make it plucky. Actually make the release longer. Okay, like that is cool. Let me copy operator values, copy it over to here, and I want to make this just a little slower. Not too bad, right? And with this level, I tweak the brightness. If I wanted, I could make the pluck shorter. Okay, this sounds fine. But when we add a little bit of chorus and delay, that's where it comes alive. You have a wide range of sounds by just tweaking the envelopes, the level of the modulator. Very nice. Very cool. Now, I was wondering why it didn't sound to me like a sawtooth, and it's because I forgot to increase the feedback. There you go. Lovely. So whoever said that FM synthesis is cold and harsh, they are completely and utterly mistaken. It's just that they didn't know what they were doing. FM synthesis can be super warm. All right, enough of that. Let's see if we have time for one more trick. Oh yeah, we do. Okay, let me mute these effects. Let's do a kind of like a bells kind of patch. For this, we need 2 operators, and the modulator has to be set to a tuning of twice the carrier. So in this case, operator 2 is our modulator, operator 1 is our carrier. So I'm going to set the frequency to be twice. Now we are using a 2-to-1 ratio. Right here, it sounds reedy. And you have to really experiment and pay attention to your controls and to the settings, because just tweaking the level can get you a warm sound like this, to a reedy sound, to a horrible sound like so. That's a very nasty sound. And again, that's why a lot of people have problems with FM synthesis, because they always setting their levels to maximum and it sounds horrible. Okay, so here it sounds reedy, sounds nice. What happens if I increase the tuning to a 3-to-1 ratio, or 4-to-1? More bell-like, right? And let's do this. Let's do. Let me turn off this operator for now. I want this bells patch to have a release. So I'm going to focus on rate 4 of our carrier. Right there, that's the release that I want. And I want it to be plucky. So level 3, 0, and use R3 to give the body to the pluck. Cool. Let's copy this over to our modulator. turn it on. Cool. However, let me give the modulator a little bit more release. Tweak the level. So this is like a muffled bell. This is a very sharp bell. Let's set it there and add our usual suspects, chorus and delay, and let's listen to this thing come alive. Actually, I want a little bit more release. Oh my, lovely. We can make the bell less sharp. Warmer, maybe? Nice. That's a lovely sound, if I may say so. Alright, my friends, that's all I had for today. Let me check in here to see if there are any other questions. And just as a reminder, I'll be making some proper sound design tutorials later on, the next couple of weeks. But certainly play this thing back again, review everything that we went through, and most of all, experiment with these envelope recipes on your DX7 or on Dexed and get to know and get yourself familiar with some of these values. But at the end of the day, remember, it's not about the values, because you have to tweak them by ear or how they feel under your fingers. All right, so let's see if there are any last minute questions here. See there, Panos asking, in this configuration, the modulator 6 can be used for adding harmonics like a reverse filter. I don't know when you asked this, how long ago, but yeah, certain. For example, in this configuration, okay, oscillator 6, operator 6 rather, is controlling operator 3, okay? So let's forget about 4, 5, and 6, and let's use operator 3 to add like a bit of a harmonic, okay? So let's turn it on, like so. Okay, let me switch this thing off. Let's increase the tuning. Okay, let's switch on the other operators. Okay, this has to be way longer. And let's lower the level. Let's make it plucky, just so it doesn't ring out so much. So that's like a harmonic. But of course, we could set it up to be like a kind of a pad if we wanted to, like so. Hold on. So that metallic-y harmonic is ramping up way in the background. Cool. Great stuff, my friends. Let's see any last-minute questions. Matthew, that's right. To get a warm sound, you need a smooth operator. Awesome. All right, my friends. I hope that you found this useful, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Take care.